I think it's a great trade for the Phoenix Suns because they're a win now team, and you had to give up a lot to get Kevin Durant. We know that they love Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and those all those first round picks that they gave up. But players like Kevin Durant don't come along very often. When he does play, he's still a great player. He's still one of the top players in the league. The biggest issue for him really, he showed up in Brooklyn. He was recovering from the Achilles, so they signed him knowing he wasn't going to play in the first year. He has dealt with, last year it was a left knee injury. This year it's a right knee injury. That's been the biggest thing with Kevin Durant. But when he's out there playing, he's still great. He can make big shots. He's unselfish. He defends. He's a leader. He's everything that you'd want in a superstar player.
When you drive into the arena, are you seeing the same Kevin Durant as 5 years ago outside of the injuries? Has his game changed, Frank? I guess is my question.
I actually think he's probably a little bit better, and you know, defensively he still gets it done. I thought early on this season with the Nets, I thought it took him a little while to get going. He didn't seem to have the energy, and you're wondering, well, is this kind of lingering from over the summer, asking for a trade? It doesn't happen. Now he really doesn't want to play for the Nets. But guess what? The Nets had the greatest 20-game stretch in the history of their franchise. They went 18-2. Kevin Durant played in 19 of those games, and they went 17-2. Then he never played again. So Kevin Durant ends his career with the Brooklyn Nets, having won 17 of the last 19 games that he played in. So, and you look at that roster, yes, Kyrie Irving was playing really well. But it's a lot of role players. And now on, the Phoenix Suns, he's going to be playing with Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and then you got a guy like DeAndre Ayton. And think about when Kevin Durant was on an ensemble cast with the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green as his teammates. They were unbelievable, and they go to 3 finals. He wins 2 finals MVPs. The last one obviously gets hurt. But think about this. He played in 10 finals games with the Golden State Warriors. They went 9-1 in those games. You know how hard it is to win one NBA Finals games. He won 9 of 10. Pretty good.
Why now? So last summer, I was saying on the air, this thing's not over with. You're going to have the trade deadline coming up in February. What was so attractive about this deal? Why did it happen now versus last summer from your
It's a fair point because when you look at the moves that the Brooklyn Nets made, getting Dorian Finney-Smith and Spencer Dinwiddie, you would have thought maybe Kevin Durant playing with that group, plus the Nets could have probably made 1 or 2 other minor moves to make a run for it this year. And so the Nets making that trade, I think for them, they were shopping or they were looking to make a deal all summer long. And I think they were pretty close. I heard the 2 teams they were closest to were Toronto. They were real close with Toronto. And then Phoenix was another one. And everyone thought, well, DeAndre Ayton can't be involved in the deal because he just signed his contract. So maybe they'll wait 6 months and then DeAndre Ayton will be involved. I think the package that they got from Phoenix this week was nothing like they got over the summer. And I think Mikal Bridges they wanted, that was non-negotiable. Obviously, Cam Johnson was one, the 4 first-round draft picks. And I thought, ESPN did a good story, Brian Windhorst and Ramona Shelburne, kind of talking about the behind-the-scenes stuff. So at first, Phoenix turned it down. Then they said, okay, we'll do the deal. And then the Nets said, you know what? We have one more. We want you to throw Jay Crowder into the deal as well. So I think the Nets got exactly what they wanted. And I think for the Phoenix Suns, it's hard to say goodbye to guys like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. But you have Kevin Durant with those other 3 players, pretty good.
Frank Isola with us for a couple of minutes. I'll get back to Durant on one other point, but in terms of getting Bridges, I think, Frank, you're getting Bridges. He's still not even at his ceiling yet. He's such a great player every game and was overshadowed out here in a lot of respects. He's lovable. The fans are really upset. It's similar to when Jerry traded Hornacek to get Barkley here. Very similar to that they did not want to see Mikal Bridges go, didn't want to see Cam Johnson go. Those 2 are fun kids, too. They love playing the game, and they love interacting with people. They're always smiling.
You know what? That's a great point you bring up. And, I got to see Mikal Bridges play a lot at Villanova. My daughter went to school there, so I'd been to a lot of Villanova games. I know the Brunson family really well, so I knew a lot about Mikal Bridges even before the draft. He's become a much better NBA player than I thought, and it was amazing. So he has his press conference with Cam Johnson. The 2 of them were great. First of all, what you love about them, they're both very engaging. And both of them explained the trade, and neither of them were the victim and that people lied to me and this should have happened. They both said they almost seemed flattered that they were involved in a deal for Kevin Durant.
Mhm.
That's how we're viewed around the league, that people are willing to trade for us, even if it means giving up Kevin Durant. And then I love the part where, Mikal could not play in the first game because I guess the trade had just gone down. And Cam Johnson said that Mikal Bridges, who, as you know, plays every game, he was very anxious during the game. So think about this. They're actually happy and they want to play basketball, which puts both of them. Maybe they didn't get the memo yet that you're not really supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be unhappy and figure out a way not to play in all the games. So that was actually very refreshing for the two of them.
Yeah, load management, minute smiles, all that stuff that's going
Yep.
on. One other thought on Durant. You talked about last November, I was listening to you about drama-free team. Could you get into that with Durant a little bit about being in a space where he doesn't have to get engaged other than just playing basketball? And then
Yeah.
that's what's happening
Yeah.
in Phoenix.
And I think the thing with Kevin Durant off the court, I think he spends a lot of time on social media. He used to go after people on social media with a burner account. Now he just goes directly at them. Now he's had a couple of back and forths with Shaquille O'Neal. He's a basketball junkie. That's the guy's life. He watches basketball, plays it. He watches the college game. He watches the women's game. He's only about basketball. So the off the court stuff that he gets involved in, I think it's a little silly for a player of his stature
Right.
and his age to really be worried about going back and forth with people. But when it comes to just playing basketball, he's all about doing everything the right way. He's very supportive of his teammates. He holds his teammates accountable. Remember, he came up, think about where he played. He comes up through, Seattle, Oklahoma City under Sam Presti. They have a certain way of doing things there. You go to the Golden State Warriors. That was already a championship team when he went there. They have a certain way of doing things. He comes to Brooklyn. Now you're playing with Kyrie, and Kyrie is not Russell Westbrook. He's not Steph Curry. He's got 9 million other things that he's getting involved in that are always, it's all nonsense, and he doesn't play in enough games. I think Kevin Durant going to Phoenix, knowing that Chris Paul is all business, and knowing that Devin Booker, he was with him on the national team, he's thinking, now there might be some issues maybe with some other players, but I think he knows the core of that team, Devin Booker and Chris Paul, are just about winning basketball, and that's what Kevin Durant wants to be involved in.
One last question. You look at the West today after everything has gone down. Are they the best team in the West? Are they the most equipped to win a title in the West? Because the West, top to bottom, you just look at it and say, I can make a case for this team. I can make a case for that team. What do you see?
Yeah, I mean, I thought before the trade deadline, I was looking at Denver, even though Denver, let's face it, they've only won 2 playoff series,
Right.
in any given year. They made it to a conference finals a few years ago. So there's still some question marks. How will Michael Porter do in a tight situation? Same thing with Jamal Murray. I think it's Denver, and I think Phoenix, and I like the Clippers as well. To me, it's just not going to happen for the Warriors. They're a 500 team right now. There always seems to be something going on. Now Steph Curry is hurt. They traded James Wiseman, the player they get back, Gary Payton. The second isn't. You don't know if he's going to play. I think it's those 3 teams, but I think the fact that Kevin Durant been to obviously the NBA Finals with 2 different organizations. The fact that the Phoenix Suns, Devin Booker's been to an NBA Finals, I would give them the slight edge right now. And I know people love to talk about depth. And again, you mentioned having to part ways with 2 likable and serviceable, more than serviceable players in Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson. But it's a superstar-driven league, and Kevin Durant is still a great player, and we know that Devin Booker is a great player, and the same thing with Chris Paul. The issue will be, and we've seen this throughout their careers, especially recently, can all 3 of them stay healthy? Because they do, there have been issues with getting hurt. Those are legitimate injuries. I'm not saying they're dogging it or don't want to play. That's not the case at all. That to me will be the biggest thing for them. Can they stay healthy when it matters most?
Frank, appreciate the time and insight as always. Thanks.
All right, Brad, keep up the good work.